Hello everybody, my name is Thuy-Linh and today we are going to go over how to find the average of a set of numbers in Microsoft Excel. Now when using Microsoft Excel, you may need to find the average of a certain set of numbers. This can be used to find an average grade across a semester, the average amount of time that has elapsed, or even the average height of people in a basketball team. Whatever you need to find the average for, this tutorial will show an easy way of generating the average based on the dataset that you have. Now, for the sake of this tutorial, I am providing an Excel example file for you to follow along with. If you do not have that file, then you can also use your own set of data and apply what we go over today to that set of data, and hopefully you get the right average answer. On the agenda today, we are going to go over parts of an Excel sheet. So if you are unfamiliar with the different names and parts of Excel, we will be going over that as well today. And then following that, we are going to go over a couple of examples. The first one being a worked example where I show you how to set up an average function. The second one will be a practice problem where I will start off with the problem and go through it with you and ask you to pause the video before getting to the answer. Then we will go over how to get the answer and hopefully we get the same answer. And then the third one, I will have another practice problem where you can do it on your own. So I ask you again to pause it before doing anything, and I will have you complete the set by yourself, and then we'll review the correct answers at the end. So without further ado, let's get into it. So to name the parts in Excel, the whole file itself is called a workbook. And within the workbook, we have and can have different amounts of sheets. So as you see on the bottom here, we have 1, 2, 3 sheets that we can see. The first one being the worked example that I showed you earlier. The second one is a completion example, number 1. And then the third one will be the one that you will be doing on your own. So we're going to go back to the worked example. You can kind of remember what they're called as if it was like a regular notebook. So if you take like a regular notebook, inside the notebook are different types of sheets. The same thing will happen and apply to Excel, where the whole Excel file is a workbook and inside the workbook are different sheets. Now in each sheet there are different functions or parts of the sheet, and we'll go over that right now. So as you can see here on the top part of the sheet, you'll see all these letters A, B, C, and it keeps on going. These are called columns. So we've got column A, column B, column C, and so on and so forth. The next part that we will go over are going to be these numbers on the side. These numbers on the left hand side are called rows. So this would be row 1, row 2, row 3, and so on and so forth. And now we are going to go over what these little boxes are called. Each of these little rectangular boxes are called cells, and each cell has its own name. So the cell name is consisting of the column and the row that it falls into. So we have in column C and row 4, so this cell's name is C4. We can see the name of the cell actually in the name box up here at the top above the column. So as you can see, it says C4. If I click another box, it'll change the name D7 in the name box as well. To the right of the name box, we have the formula bar. This formula bar is going to show you what is actually in that cell. So whatever cell that you have clicked, it will show what's in here, or you can also type in things in the formula bar that will show up in the cell itself. So if we click B1, you can see here that in the cell B1 it had number of members written, and in the formula bar it will auto-populate as the same thing. Same thing with the team, A1, and then we've got all these different cells with all these different inputs. All right, now that we've gone over the main names of the Excel, we are going to start off with the examples. So our first example is our worked example. If you have this file pulled up, we will toggle to this work example file or sheet and click on B13. Now I want to click here because the average member count I have listed here, I want it to represent this number that I'm going to find the average number for. Now we could have put it over here, it doesn't really matter. I kind of like it down here so we can kind of see where we're pulling the information from, because the information will be right above it, but it's up to you. It's kind of a preference thing. So right now we've got Team Red with 1 member, Team Orange with 2 members, and so on and so forth. I don't know what team or what this game that is being played that needs these kind of teams, but having 1 member versus 10 members is pretty vast difference. Regardless, we are going to find the average member count for all of these 10 teams that are listed. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the B13 cell, and we can double check that it is B13 in the name box. And then in the function bar, or formula bar rather, I'm going to type in a formula here. So I'm going to start off with an equal sign, and this is to show that I want the Excel file workbook to find this number. So I want to tell Excel to find the average. So we're going to type in average in all caps. And then I have to tell Excel what to find the average of. What set of numbers do I need to find the average of? In order to do that, we're going to open the parentheses. And inside of these parentheses will be our data set numbers. So I'm going to take my mouse and I'm going to click and drag from B2 all the way down to B11. And as you can see here, when I did that, it highlights the box set that I want the numbers to come from, and it automatically populated in the formula bar. So from B2, and then the colon represents like the range, to B11 is what I want it to find the average of. Now, important to remember, we are needing to close that parenthesis so that it can activate the average, because if we leave it open, the equation that we have here will not work correctly. So after we close the parentheses, we're going to click enter on our keyboard, and awesome, look, it generated what the average of these numbers were. So as you can see, I clicked onto B13 cell, and even though the cell right now it's showing 5.5, you can see that the formula that we wrote earlier is in the formula bar. Excel is great because it will show you the answer of the formula in the Excel cell itself. And if we ever need to make adjustments to the formula, we can by clicking on the formula bar and changing it in here, or double clicking on the cell and it will populate as such. So as you can see here, if you click on the formula bar, it is again going to show you what set of numbers we are pulling this data set from, and Excel will then tell you what the average is. So if you wanted to, you can click enter again on your keyboard and it'll auto populate and do the calculations for you. Okay, now we are going to move on to completion example number 1. Okay, so for our first practice problem, again, I will be starting off the problem with everybody, and then I'm going to ask you to pause the video before getting to the answer to make sure that we are operating correctly, and I'm going to have you do it by yourself. And then after that, after you're done, go ahead and unpause the video, and then I'm going to show you how what the correct answer should be. So in this first practice problem, we have our entering date and time, our exiting date and time, and the time difference in hours between the two numbers. So what I want to find is the average time difference that had elapsed over the course of however many days this was. So again, we're going to do very similarly. Select the cell that you want the average to come out of, or where you want your formula to populate your final answer. For this one, it's going to be C12, and then I'm going to click in the formula bar so that we can start typing. So I'm going to type in equals, again typing in average, and then I'm going to open up the set of numbers that I want to get the set of data from. Now I'm going to ask you to pause here so that I'm going to see if we can pull the same information. So go ahead and pause this video and we will come back when you're done. Alright, welcome back. So I don't know if we have the right answer or the same answers, but we'll go through it and you can adjust accordingly. But we will move forward with how to get the average. So right now I have equals average, open parentheses, and the set of data that I want to pull from will be the information that's right above it. So I'm going to click and drag from C2 all the way down to C10. And then I'm going to remember to close my parentheses and click enter on my keyboard. So right now our average time difference is going to be 4.05 hours. And as you can see again in the top formula bar, it should say C2 to C10. And then it'll also again highlight the set once you click inside of the formula bar. So we're going to move on to our last data practice set. And here we have a number of sales for different items in our inventory. We've got t-shirts, shorts, and socks across, let's see, 6 different years. We also have the total amount, and we're trying to find the average number of sales per item. So we've got t-shirts, shorts, and socks here. So the setup's a little different, but it functions the same way. I'm going to ask you now to take a pause in the video and try to figure this one out on your own before continuing on. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully we were all able to find the average number of sales per item across these 6 years. So let's get to it. So right here, I'm going to try to find the average of the t-shirts over the course of the 6 years. So I'm going to highlight into this J3 cell, or click into the J3 cell, go to the formula bar and type in my equation. So equals average, open my parentheses, and what I'm going to do is from B3 to G3 will be my data set. I don't want to include the total because that is just a sum of all these numbers. I want to find the average of just the basic set of numbers. So you should be ignoring that. So we are going to close off the parentheses and go ahead and find the average number of sales per item. So across the 6 years, t-shirts, 27.5 t-shirts. So rounding down, I guess, for the t-shirts. I don't know if you're gonna have a half t-shirt. About 27 to 28 t-shirts were sold over the past, or on average each year. All right, so now we're gonna do for the shorts, same kind of thing. Now now if we want to find shorts and socks and we don't want to have to type in each individual equation for each one, because say we had a long list of inventory and we wanted to find the average for each one, an easier way to do it is actually, as long as you have one of the formulas already created, we can actually hover over this right side corner, this little box on the cell, and wait for your cursor to turn into this skinny little plus sign, and then click and drag down into all of the cells that you would want the formula to be in. Release, and it should auto-populate the formula for each of these cells. So we've got our average B3 through G3 amount. Excel is really smart because it won't take the average of the first set of numbers before the numbers underneath it. So as you can see here, when we clicked it, it's pulling data from the second set of numbers for the shorts. And then lastly, same thing for the socks. So it's really smart. Excel is really amazing, and there are built-in shortcuts. So we learn as we grow. And so hopefully these are the averages that you were able to come up with, and they match what I have here. Now, also make it make sense too. Like, I don't know if you can have 2.6666 pairs of shorts, but again, it's up to your interpretation and you as a person to make sense of this information. And with that, that is all I have for you today. Thank you for watching and paying attention and participating in our how to work example tutorial. See you in the next one. Keep excelling.